This case I'm covering today was a bit difficult to formulate as there wasn't much information to go on and instead is filled with speculations and accusations more than anything. The actual story of this case will be pretty short, so I'm going to try and paint the best picture I can for you guys, and then we'll go over the life, the trauma, and the speculations that revolved around this tragic event. Today we will cover the story of Yee Lee and Molly Cheng, how tensions between their marriage eventually led to devastating and tragic events. This story is more complicated as it goes deeper than just a domestic dispute that turns horribly wrong. It is a close examination of a community and how they reacted, and deeper than that, the all too familiar heartbreaking life of orphans. On Friday, July 1st, 2022, at approximately 10:30 a.m., Maplewood police officers and firefighters were dispatched to the 1300th block on Pearson Drive in the city of Maplewood on a report of a possible suicide. Maplewood police officers and firefighters will arrive on scene and find the lifeless body of Yee Lee, age 27. The caller, Molly Cheng, age 23, reported that her husband had shot himself. The couple had an argument that morning, which led to Yee threatening to end his own life in front of his kids and his wife. As the argument continued, Yee followed through with the threat and ended his own life in the doorway of their bedroom. When police arrived, they found two firearms, one near Yee and another one in the premises of the home. After authorities moved Yee's body and cleared the scene, the police advised Molly's dad to take the kids with him, but at the last moment, Molly insisted on keeping them with her. Molly and the children were then attended by a social worker who spent a few hours with them before leaving. In a police statement, it said there was at least one relative in the home with them when the social worker left the home. Later in the afternoon, Yee's family members went live on Facebook about the tragedy and allegedly blamed Molly for his death. According to some sources, the accusations were that the issues of their marriage was due to Molly's infidelity and unfaithfulness in the relationship. After the live videos, Molly then called an uncle and said she couldn't take it anymore and that she was going to harm herself and her kids. So at approximately 4 p.m., the uncle called 911 stating that Molly was going to end her own life, along with her 3 children. As a result, Maplewood police issued a statewide alert to attempt to locate and check the welfare of Molly Cheng and her children. Law enforcement agencies in the region then began to search and started to track Molly's cell phone. At around 5:45 p.m., officers were able to place Molly's cell phone in the area of Van Nuys Circle Lake Park in Van Nuys Heights. At around 6:03 p.m., Molly's cell phone led deputies to locate her abandoned vehicle in the parking lot of the park. Just 20 minutes later, deputies were able to locate several pairs of children's shoes and the vehicle keys on the east shore of the lake. Deputies, officers, and firefighters immediately began an intense search on both land and water. Now at around 7:32 p.m., deputies recovered a child from Van Nuys Lake and began life-saving measures. The child was then taken to the hospital where he was then pronounced deceased. Now I'm not going to give the names of these children in order to protect their identities since they are so young, but the first one found would be her son and the second oldest. He would be just barely 4 years old, and the medical examiner identified his cause of death was determined to be drowning and smothering, and his manner of death was considered homicide. Early into the next morning, on Saturday, July 2nd, 2022, at around 12:03 a.m., a second child was located and recovered from Van Nuys Lake and was declared deceased on site. The medical examiner then identified this child as Molly's oldest child. He was 5 years old and his cause of death was determined to be drowning and the manner of death was homicide. Sometime at around 3 a.m., search and recovery operations were temporarily suspended until daylight, but deputies remained on scene overnight to secure the park. Once there was daylight again at around 6 a.m., search and recovery operations resumed. The search continued until sometime around 10:39 a.m. when an adult female, believed to be the mother of the 3 children, was located and recovered from Van Nuys Lake. The adult female was declared deceased. The medical examiner identified this person as Molly Cheng, age 23, of Maplewood. Her cause of death was determined to be drowning, and her manner of death was suicide. Lastly, just around 20 minutes later at 11 a.m., Molly's third and youngest child was located and recovered from Van Nuys Lake. This child was her only daughter, and she was just 3 years old. Her cause of death was determined to be drowning and smothering, and her manner of death was homicide. After Molly and her children was found and recovered from the lake, Ramsey County Under Sheriff Mike Martin made a statement that said, "Our hearts go out to the families involved here and their friends. Our goal was to find the children and the mother and to return them to their families. We were glad we were able to do that." Ramsey County Water Patrol Commander Eric Bratt said, "The lake was fairly shallow with depths between 5 to 10 feet deep, and the search was also emotionally difficult. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and this one was one of the more difficult ones." So experts who study filicide, parents who murder their children, says it's unclear how often such acts occur, but that there are key commonalities among them. They say this is a horrific crime for people to understand and imagine, and that's why it's helpful to be aware of the different essential motives. A lot of times, people rush to judgment about what was the motive in a certain case, but until all facts come out, it's difficult to say in some cases. Researchers have identified 5 main reasons for filicide. The death is a result of chronic abuse. The child was unwanted. One parent wants to exact revenge on the other parent, which is acute psychosis. And lastly, the parent feels it's altruistic to spare the child pain. This altruistic parent is someone who's severely depressed and is going to end themselves, but still loves their child, so they may think, "I'm leaving this awful world myself, but I don't want to leave this child who I have here alone in this awful world without a parent." The last reason might be the most significant reason when we start looking further into the life of Molly Cheng. A family member of Yee described the two as nice, kind people. Yee Lee and Molly Cheng were both born in Thailand and grew up in the Thai refugee camp in Wat Tham Kabat. They were the last wave of Hmong refugees from Wat Tham Kabat who left the camp in the early 2000s. Molly and Yee both met in the Twin Cities and had been together for 7 years. At the time of their death, they both ran a nail and hair salon in Brooklyn Park. Before then, Molly trained to do cosmetic eyebrow tattoos at ENS Lounge in St. Paul. They both lived in a gray home with bright green shutters in the rolling home estate mobile home park in Maplewood. Molly's parents were both Hmong, but she wasn't. Her adopted parents were unable to conceive, so they adopted Molly from her biological parents back in Thailand when she was only 3 months of age. She is actually Burmese and Thai mixed. Growing up, she was darker skin tone than the other Hmong kids around her. She had lovely big eyes and smaller lips from her Burmese side. In one of her videos on TikTok, she spoke about how having different features and darker skin brought about a lot of bullying. But her parents' love and admiration for her helped her accept herself for who she was.
Hello, nhớ rằng nhớ là bây giờ cái này trong đời cũ này ở nơi gì trong tụi nó cũ tiệt, cũ bây giờ mong là cũ siêu mong này ạ, tới khi cũ cái này tiệt cũ giờ mong, theo next up có cái story tiệt vì cha cũ họ consider cũ tôi khen tiệt cũ giờ mong này ạ. So ít sự gì cũng như theo cũng chỉ người tu cũng thôi cũng mẹ cũng mua bé lì ở chơi cũng như cũng chỉ những tu cũng chơi cũng những lo lắng cho cũng như cũng chỉ chơi cũng như cũng chỉ bé nhất thì thấy bé tôi thì nó thọ ốp hà chỉ chơi bé tôi thì nó chơi cũng mà tôi cần thở cũng những mắm bù lì ở cũng mắm bù lì nên đó rồi ngày tiệc của siêu phong của đứa tờ của chị khương phong của ở quỷ này ạ, thế khi mà của những chị kể cho họ tiệc họ matter thì như của nhiều của chị lúc của này ạ, thì như họ matter trên tiếng cha cho của thì của nhiều của chị bé tới nhà tới chợ nó tao nên để bây giờ sáng chế cho là chẳng hạn sáng sau của kênh như tiệc Cô đưa đuôi cô tới xiên phong ấy ở chỉ như cô này cô chỉ là lúc cô lo cô này cô chỉ đến lúc cô về cô yên trong sẽ tao sẽ đó cô yên chỉ tao xả thì cô phải out thì cô yên hay này chỉ ấy rồi thế chỉ có mà đi find out thì cô yên Thai and Burmese thầu của mà pass away của mà đi báo lên đó xí rồi thì cô yên chỉ kể find out là khỏi thì của mà mấy thì cô yên của mà yêu thì cô yên thì cô yên của mà yêu hay rồi cô yên chỉ nông là cô biết adapt rồi chỉ yêu cô chỉ kể nó dạy bên đâu cô báo rồi cô yên chỉ nông được cô chỉ là hơi cô parents có feeling á thì thầu của mà pass away thì mà khi cô yên tại thì mà báo rồi cô yên chừng chạp xa thì cô yên adapt rồi cô yên chừng xa thì cô yên của mà theo cô đang được tuân sai của người yêu xí ở đâu người lúc của hàng chị cô yên chỉ bảo được nó cho liệu chị nên sẽ báo chị cô khen nên nó sẽ là cái next time next about chị nên hay của mà đi khen nên gì
Sadly, Molly's mother had passed away a few years before the incident, and her father then remarried and unfortunately left Molly on her own due to her new stepmother not liking her. Molly felt abandoned because she felt like the only people who loved and accepted her were now gone or out of her life. She often posted about how she missed her mother for the fact that she only felt accepted in this world with her mother around. In a TikTok video, she explains how she never knew her true ethnicity until her mother told her right before passing away. She knew that she wasn't Hmong and that she was adopted, but she never cared to ask because she didn't want to hurt her parents' feelings. In the end, she also explains how when she found out, she still didn't care because in the end, all that mattered was how much her parents loved her. Despite not being actually Hmong, she was still proud to be Hmong because she grew up as Hmong, she was raised as Hmong, and so she was Hmong. Although she focused on tattooing and hairstyling in her later years, Molly just wasn't talented in beauty and art. In her younger years, she was talented in music and even had a music video. So how can someone with so much talent and success in life want to do this to themselves and their children? Let's take a deeper look into the accusations that possibly led to Molly ending her and her children's lives. When the police were called to the house when Yee ended his own life, Molly's in-laws shortly visited the home too. While waiting outside, her sister-in-law, we'll call her Jane, went live on Facebook and started accusing Molly of infidelity. Jane continued to say Molly slept around with multiple partners and that was the reason that drove her brother Yee to end his own life. She continued to repeat her accusations for several minutes before finally ending her Facebook Live. After authorities had deemed Yee's death as suicide and removed his body from the house, they allowed the family to inspect the scene as it wasn't considered a crime scene anymore. This is when Molly's sister-in-law went live again, and you can still see Molly present, explaining where and how Yee ended his own life. As they walk in the room, you can see a pile of blankets hiding the blood of Yee. In the room was Yee's father, Jane, and two other family members of Yee. As Jane walks into the room, one of the family members turns to Molly and says in Hmong, "Are you happy now? Are you happy now? Your dream has finally come true. You have the best one now." And then Yee's father continues and says to Molly, "Yes, you have the best one now," or "Got tao tu zhong chan le," which can actually mean you can be with the one you want now, or you have the better person now. This statement insinuates Molly of cheating or having another love interest already. Her father-in-law then continues to say, "Your new man will love you more, have more money, and be more obedient than my son. So don't even cry, don't shed a tear. My son died because he was too dumb." Jane then interrupts her dad and says, "Because he loved you more than anything in the world. He died because he was stupid in love with you." Jane continues to speak with the police and everyone else in the room, and she just seemed a bit arrogant in how she was asking questions and trying to understand things. She just seemed very sensitive to the situation as everyone was examining the scene. All of the comments about what kind of gun was used, how the bullet hole penetrated the door, and how his blood was all covered up in blankets. And in the Facebook Live, you can see and hear Molly's children the whole time just running around, and even at one point ask for their dad. When you do see Molly for a split second, she just looks so stressed and in shock. The whole live video just felt so inappropriate, and this was something I felt shouldn't have ever been recorded or on live for the whole social media world to see. I couldn't find any more of the live videos because they have been deleted since then, but allegedly Jane continued to go on Facebook Live again after leaving the home and continued to accuse Molly of being the reason why her brother ended himself. It seemed like a lot of online users accused Yee of cheating on Molly as well, and that their relationship was never healthy from the beginning. Other online users will make memes about Molly being a cheater and a horrible wife to Yee. There were many people who defended both sides and accused each person of being a horrible person. And I believe having seen such a traumatic incident take place in front of you and your children, on top of all the accusations and blaming, this would cause anyone to get to the point that Molly got to. With both Molly and Yee gone, we will never know the truth, and all that is left is hearsay and accusations. But the truth of it all is that there is now a whole family that is gone, especially young children that never got the chance to even experience life. Molly Cheng's life and death can hold a lesson for everyone in their community, and that is how we treat others that may look different from us, and not being so quick to blame someone for another person's actions because we don't always know what someone is going through. So did Molly think that it would be better for her to take her kids with her than to leave them behind to a family and society that would continue to ostracize and bully them, to a fate where love and care weren't guaranteed in her eyes? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Yee's death is also a lesson to everyone, that mental health is a serious issue in our society and is oftentimes overlooked or not properly treated. So remember, if you or anyone is suffering with mental health and is thinking of self-harm, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. So with that, be safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.